Welcome to Tech Blueprint, a window that lets you know the latest technology news in the world. Many people probably still remember that in the farce of the EU imposing punitive tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, one of their compromises was to use technology exchange as a condition. At that time, the EU said that they could lower tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, but hoped that Chinese companies would build factories in the European market and transfer battery technology and property rights. However, their calculations failed. When they learned that the EU was so eager for Chinese battery technology, the official immediately stopped many investments in setting up factories in Europe. So why does the EU want China's battery technology? When we first understood China, we knew that it must be because they lacked such technology and coveted the better Chinese battery technology that they would do so. But as time went on, more and more variables occurred in the European market, and China finally knew the real reason. As early as the end of November, Swedish battery giant Northvolt announced that it had applied for bankruptcy protection. On the 10th of this month, the US media analyzed the matter, and the reason was revealed. One of the reasons why the EU was so obsessed with punitive tariffs at the beginning was that it wanted to break China's dominance in the electric vehicle field through such actions. And in order to get rid of the supply of Chinese companies in the battery supply chain, they planned to master this technology themselves. At that time, they took out $36 billion to subsidize the construction of electric vehicle battery factories. This amount of money is not small. You must know that in order to invite chip manufacturers from all over the world to build factories in the United States, the United States has only launched a $52 billion chip subsidy plan. Most of the EU's $36 billion funds are internally digested, and the focus of support is on this battery giant that announced bankruptcy last month. This company is also ambitious. It has planned to set up factories in Sweden, Germany, Canada, and other countries, striving to increase the EU's share in the global battery market from the current 3% to 17%. But now, they have declared bankruptcy and have not built a single battery. Not only that, 16 battery factories planned to be built in Europe have also announced postponements and partial cancellations. Interestingly, 10 of the 13 battery factories built in Europe during the same period, such as CATL and South Korea's Samsung SDI, are in full swing. To some extent, this is not a problem with the European factory construction environment, but a problem that the companies themselves have no achievements in battery technology. Unfortunately, they are not willing to let their own technology fall behind. For the current bankruptcy, they have found out the company's poor management, poor safety standards, and over-reliance on Chinese machinery. Anyway, they are determined not to admit that there is a technological gap between them and Chinese battery manufacturers. But even if they don't want to admit it, they still have to recognize a fact. Today, Chinese battery manufacturers still occupy a central position in the global field, and Asian manufacturers occupy about 70% of the global market share. CATL, BYD, South Korea's LG and SK on all play an important role in it. And the European market wants to get rid of its dependence on the supply of Chinese battery companies, which is becoming more and more distant with the bankruptcy of this giant. Or to be more pessimistic, it will be difficult for them to overtake in the future. The root cause is that they are lagging behind in the field of electric vehicle transformation. At the beginning, when Chinese manufacturers had already released the first electric car, European car companies were still competing fiercely for fuel vehicles, and even spent most of their revenue on the research and development of fuel vehicles in order to make more profits in the future. By the time they found that the trend of electric vehicle transformation was irreversible, China's electric vehicles were already far ahead, and they also took the top spot in the key component battery. In fact, even if they have technology, it is difficult to surpass the current status of Chinese companies in electric vehicle batteries. Some experts have analyzed that Europe will never be able to copy the model of Chinese factories, and if they cannot copy, they will not be able to meet a series of cruel requirements such as high capital requirements, low profits, and low pricing. To put it bluntly, even if their batteries are made, they will not have much competitive strength in terms of price. Now there is only one way before them, that is to cooperate with these companies to build factories to make up for the gap in technology. It's a pity that their calculations are too loud and they are not sincere cooperation. At this time, the battery pattern in Europe is actually clear. The EU wants to obtain Chinese battery technology to break China's dominance in the electric vehicle field, but the European battery giant Northvolt went bankrupt and many European battery factories were delayed. Chinese battery manufacturers are the world's leading companies, and Europe needs to cooperate with Chinese companies to fill the technology gap. Finally, what do you think about the European battery giant's bankruptcy? Welcome to leave comments, likes and shares.